আমি চেয়ার সরিয়ে নেবো, এত ভয় পেলে চলে। আচ্ছা কজন দাঁড়ান? ও 3 4 5 6 7, উফ ঘাড় ঘুরিয়ে ঘুরিয়ে দেখতে হচ্ছে। পেছনে কেন ভাই? বলছি মৃদুলা, ক্যান ইউ হিয়ার মি? এসো এসো এখানে, এসে পড়ো এসে পড়ো এসে পড়ো। এই চুপ, তুমি এদিকে বসো। ইয়ার কি পেয়েছে? ও খালি পেছনে যেতে চাইছে। এই সব চলে যাচ্ছে ওখানে, তার মানে শুনতে পাচ্ছে। আমি আমাকে শুনতে পাচ্ছি, কিন্তু কেউ কি শুনতে পাচ্ছে না? 4 দিন কথা। এই দাঁড়ান দাঁড়ান দাঁড়ান, এটা এই টেকনোলজির ব্যাপারটা রেগুলার হচ্ছে। এই দেখো 4 দিন শুনতে পারে না, পেলে কি করে? ও অ্যাডমিট করছে। আনমিউট করেছো?
আমরা গল্পটা বানাবো, অডিওটা মিউট করো, যে এতজন আসছে না। আউটটা যেটা ল্যাপটপের অডিও,
দুটোই করতে হবে। তুমি শুনতে পাচ্ছ? ওরম ভাবে শুনলে হবে না। একজনকে ওখান থেকে হ্যালো বলবে। মৃদুলা, মাস কম জার্নালিজম। না, আমি তো নিজেকেই শুনে যাচ্ছি সমানে। এবার শোনা যাবে না? আমি বুঝতে পেরেছি সেটা। এইটা এভরিডে অ্যাফেয়ার, মানে এভরি অকেশনে এটা হচ্ছে।
হ্যালো চেক, হ্যালো 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 হ্যালো,
আপনি শুনতে পাচ্ছেন?
হ্যালো হ্যালো।
আমি সাধারণ লোক বলবো, ওটা জানি আছে, কিন্তু ও তো আমার সঙ্গে কথা বলে না। আপনি আমায় মার্ফিস ল শেখাবেন একদম। টেকনোলজিতে সব ভাওতাবাজি কথা বলে না।
হ্যালো চেক, হ্যালো 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 হ্যালো।
ম্যাম শুনতে পাচ্ছেন?
আর কানেরিয়া কি শুনতে পাচ্ছেন? কিন্তু উনি কি শুনতে পাচ্ছেন? আমার একটা ডাউট আছে।
ময়ূরী তখন শুনতে পাচ্ছেন? আরে দাঁড়া,
হ্যালো 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 হ্যালো।
তোমার মাইকটা টাইপ হচ্ছে।
সার্কি ধরো আর কাকি ধরো, আমার
I still feel যতদিন we are uncomfortable with video conference, the better it is. The day we are comfortable with it.
হ্যালো চেক, হ্যালো 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 চেক, হ্যালো চেক, হ্যালো চেক চেক চেক, হ্যালো 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 চেক, হ্যালো চেক, হ্যালো হ্যালো হ্যালো।
ওই কম্পিউটার থেকে কিছু আউট করা আছে। ম্যাম আবার আইটি দাদাকে একটু ডাকবেন। আইটি দাদাকে ওই সেট করে গেছে ওই ল্যাপটপ।
চিঠি লিখে চিঠি পড়ে দিন। আমার এরকম মনে হতে থাকে ওই সময়টা, আপনি চিঠি লিখেছেন কিন্তু সে পেয়েছে কিন্তু পড়তে পারছে না।
হ্যালো 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 চেক।
এসিনি ডিলিং উইথ লটস অফ লাস্ট বেঞ্চার্স। আমার কিছু করার নেই। আচ্ছা তাই নাকি? আচ্ছা সাইকোলজি তো থাকতেই হবে। ওকে, good afternoon, speakers, respected speakers and participants, and those who are willing to listen, please listen. Those who are unwilling, you can take a nap keeping your eyes open. So that exists. Now I would like to make 2 announcements. One is that this is our 3rd year. We were born on January 2023, and this is 2025. We are still alive, growing, probably kicking also. So we are in our third year. So this is our first Adda Baithak, which is done according to Sister Nivedita's idea of Sesame Club in London, where all distinguished people used to meet and actually discuss about education and educational reform. So this is done that way, and the Bengali appropriation for us is Adda Baithak. The interdisciplinary was, of course, the idea of first Vice Chancellor, Professor Ashok Ranjan Thakur. From that on, we have been discussing the possibility and establishing an interdisciplinary center for studies and research. Finally, it became a reality, and it started from 2023. There is another one I would like to give with modesty, that we decided at some point of time in second year that we would be publishing each year's proceedings in an anthology form. Happy to report that our first year's anthology is coming out in book fair, and we hope that we will be able to continue this as we're doing. Thank you very much. Now let me go to the topic today, which I know nothing. I know and seen crows and seen shark in the museum. That's all. And sharks, obviously, I avoided. And in case of common crow, my grandmother used to tell, crow is known as Sharbubhuk, kaak holo Sharbubhuk, sob khaye. Acha. In the light of this, the United Nations launched its Sustainable Development Agenda in 2015, reflecting the growing understanding by member states that the development model that is sustainable for this and future generations offered the best path forward for reducing poverty and improving the lives of people everywhere. Now, at the same time, United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 14 talks about and emphasizes the need to conserve and sustainably the use of oceans, seas, and marine resources. By integrating shark conversation into these strategies, nations can ensure the long-term sustainability of their marine economies. I mean, this is obviously my idea how I see it, environment and society. The The biodiversity here actually underpins the provision of food, fiber, and water. It mitigates and provides resilience to climate change. It supports human health and provides jobs in agriculture, fisheries, forestry, and many, many other sectors. But despite the reputation of the crow, because since we'll be discussing sharks and crow, despite their reputation, which is, eats everything, as kind of a sort of a garbage type of animal, it actually play a vital role in waste management. As ordinary person, I understand that much. They consume tons of waste every year, preventing the spread of diseases and bad odor. Crows have highly efficient digestive systems, like those of vultures. And as omnivorous birds, they can feed on meats and plants and be of much service to the humanity. Against this backdrop, which is a very simplistic one, and we are waiting to hear the two experts, this Adda Baithak takes a biodiversity lens and considers wild shark and common crow research in recent times. It's an attempt to take our conversation beyond the much visited and critiqued Anthropocene in recognition of the necessity of an independent world in the 21st century. This is my introduction. I know this much. I must say that I'm not supposed to be illiterate, but not supposed to be literate in all interdisciplinary disciplines. Okay, let me introduce our first speaker, Professor Rajshekhar Aich. He is a professor in transdisciplinary research and psychology at Sister Nivedita University, Kolkata, India. Our own resources, so to speak. Having 2 PhDs in marine anthropology and applied psychology, long practice of art, knowledge, assimilation, and communication, his research is focused on creation of a transdisciplinary human shark approach in New Zealand. I mean, he walked on the New Zealand, I believe. The first Indian scientist to conduct white shark research, conduct multi-species ethnographic research with white sharks, and the first to conduct scholarly investigation of Sundarban shark attacks in India, and now arguing for the transdisciplinary approach in shark conservation, appreciation, and human-shark conflict solutions. Considering the concerns of shark conservation and the human-shark conflicts, his scholarly direction is to create a transdisciplinary human approach lab in Europe. Such a platform aims to transcend the disciplinary modality and knowledge system boundaries to create holistic, inclusive environment of collaborating among multi-level human and shark stakeholders and knowledge creators for the common good. I don't know, though I'll ask in India, why Europe? Acha. Now our second speaker, Professor Shiranjan Bhattacharya, is a professor of geology at the West Bengal State University, Barashat. He was awarded the doctorate degree from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore in 1993. He has a teaching experience of 19 years at UG and PG level. He was also the visiting scholar to Morrison Institute of Population Studies of Stanford University, where he worked on population genetics and cultural evolution. His research interests include gen culture, evolutionary dynamics in human behavior, impacts of human resource use, and culture on biodiversity, ecology and wildlife, and restoration ecology. Crow behaviors in relation to cognition and cultural capacities, to mention a few. His contribution included a chapter to the World Resources 2001, a report published by UNDP, UNEP, World Bank, and World Research Institute. I am hoping that Shiranjan will give me a better idea about the common crow, which I see every day. Thank you very much, Rajshekhar.
Yeah. Hello. ঠিক আছে, audible? All right. So where would I? ওখানে না? So is the thing open? Open? No. No, সেটা না, কোনটা way? This is not mine. Yeah. Do the screen sharing. I don't know what software they're using. Okay. All right. So,
Just want to say 20 minutes to begin with.
20 minutes to
After that,
begin
we'll have
with.
interaction.
As a bish. I'm gonna then go through the stuff, I suppose, faster. So, this presentation I called an transdisciplinary human shark methodology and unavoidable eventual step of human shark research, multi-species ethnography. Now, it traces very lightly about my own journey and purpose in life. In the mental hospital, I was locked like an animal in a cage. No one came when I called, begging to be taken to a bathroom. And I finally had to succumb to the inevitable. But in the darkness, I had acquired a sense of my unique mission in the world. I knew then, as I know now, that I must have been preserved for some reason, however small. It is something only I can do. And it is vitally important that I do it. Now, this story we can find in Viktor Frankl's book when he's speaking about purpose. And this is a student of his who was in the mental hospital, but even then found his own purpose. And This human shark research approach of mine is as much related to my personal meaning of purpose as much as a global context of it, I personally feel. Right. So the question starts from what is my purpose? Now, very briefly, I was born with,
Just a minute.
yeah.
Is the microphone on? It's not working. It's not working.
It's audible.
It's on.
Oh, it's audible there, ma'am. Take us. All right. So I was born with paint on my feet. My father is a painter, and I always knew that because my father was a painter, I'm going to be a painter too. Just like children do, follow their father's footsteps. But I also was dyslexic, and I had ADHD, which I got to know when I was only 35, by the way. So what was my purpose? I was asking myself this question, as I was growing up, but there was one thing that always fascinated me was my interest in sharks. Sharks resembled everything I wanted to imbibe in myself, that spirit, that energy, that mysteriousness, that strength. And sharks, the image of shark came to me in different forms all through my life. Based on that, as I grew up, I had eventually created these eras of shark image alteration. Now, it is important for us to understand shark image because shark image has a very significant impact on their conservation efforts at a global scale. So if we start from the image of sharks, I suppose it's important for us to consider that white sharks are the poster child of all sharks globally. And the evolution of the image of sharks equates with the evolution of the image of the white sharks at a global scale. So much so, Amar Sundarbone, when I had actually gone to do my research, even there I found to represent Kamot, they actually use the image of a white shark there. So there was a pre-Jaws era. What is the pre-Jaws era? Actually, this is the first underwater video ever taken. Even in that underwater video, there was a man who was killing a shark underwater. So in the pre-Jaws era, the sharks were symbols of unpredictability. They were, adventure, but they were also closely related with our culture at a much larger scale in Polynesian communities and many other communities all through the world. Historically, sharks were revered by many ocean-going communities, personal virility, unpredictability of the marine world, and so on. However, when audiovisual technology started coming, they also represented the mystery and potential danger out in the marine scape. Then came the Jaws era, 1974, some say 75. I'm not really sure, I think 75, and Jaws. During the Second World War, actually, there was also more interest in sharks. Because before the Second World War, there was hardly any shark fishing going on. And the Second World War, the fishers started doing commercial fishing of sharks at a large scale. And also, military wanted to use sharks for their military fare. They actually put bombs on shark fins to see if they can use it to explode ships and stuff like that. So the interest in sharks actually started in 1975. We had Jaws. So I call that the Jaws era. What was the Jaws era? It resembled a hyper-real image. So what's an hyper-real image? And hyper-real image is something, and when an image is much larger than the actual thing, it becomes a hyper-real image, right? So the shark, the white shark, became a hyper-real image. Well, there are, you see, many representation of the hyper-real image of sharks. What more scary than Trump being a shark, right? So we had seen that in films, movies, and TVs, and it became $1 billion industry. Even now it is. But at the same time, they were real-life human-shark conflict story, right? At one hand, overfishing of sharks. The last 30, 40 years, Yeah, more than 130 species of sharks are threatened. There is evidence to say that 97% of the large sharks are gone.
Only Trump is left.
Only Trump is left. He'll be left more, ma'am. And then there was also the other side, that there are actually real incidents of shark bites on human beings. So here I go back a step back again to my own childhood, why it was important. You know, as I was getting older, you know, I was painting, I was singing and doing everything, but I still asked the fundamental question to myself, what is my purpose? I didn't want to study, but I might as well did a PhD in psychology. I thought, let's get some idea in my head, right? Some knowledge maybe. Even then I thought, every time I did a degree, I thought, ebar to kichu porini, maybe next degree ta porle kichu buddhi mathay dhukbe. When I finished the first PhD, mone hoy ebaro kichu porini. Next PhD ta korle hoyto kichu mathay dhukbe. So I was, 2014, I headed to New Zealand to do my second PhD. That is where I was introduced to the multi-species ethnography perspective, methodology. But this wasn't a research on sharks. This was actually a research. I went there to research on human and elephant work. But actually there was no funds to do that research. There's a long story behind that, but I'm not getting into that. Either way, the basic premise of multi-species research, it is that in contemporary ethnography, what happens there is, whenever we're dealing with cultures which involves different human and other non-human animals, we are always focused on the human beings. The multi-species ethnography argued that we need to focus on the other non-human animals as much as humans. So ethnographic research, writing more than human perspective, challenges the tradition, classical tradition of human exceptionalism that separates others, from us from other animals. And we have to understand these animals are intrinsically agentive beings in social, political, economic lives of ours, right? And I was thinking, why wasn't, I mean, at that time, again, I was supposed to do my human-elephant research, and I was thinking, why is there's no multi-species study with sharks? I mean, there are actual reasons for that. First and foremost, it is very hard to do, yeah? You work with sharks, you work with an animal like the great white sharks. By the way, these are all my images. So you work with the great white shark. They are large animals. You can't literally see them. There could be a white shark, a 15-foot white shark, 10 feet away from you. If they don't want to show you themselves, you will not see them. And they can be elusive. It can be often life-threatening working with animals like this. You can't really even trace them. There is now multi-species research with human and whales. But even whales, even after 4 hours, right, they're going to come up and you can still spot them. Sharks, you can't, unless you have GPS tracking system. That's a different fiasco. So here, cage diving with sharks becomes an eminent contact zone. So when I went to New Zealand and my research with elephants was not working, one day I went to dive with white sharks. I was fascinated by them. I went to dive with them in a cage diving practice, and I realized this is where my research has to go. This is my interest. This has not been done before. I didn't know how to do it because no one had done it before. And that became my journey. The fieldwork itself was more than 3 years. The entire research took 7 years of my life to complete. But yeah, I was in Foveaux Strait, one of the toughest straits of water in the planet. For the last 200 years, there has been more than 250 ships that has gone down in the region, including last one that my friend's father actually died a couple of years back. So it's an extremely hard strait. You will have 30 feet waves just like that. And then again, if you fell in the water, you would have 4 minutes to survive because you will get hypothermia. Norum Bangali Hat. Tar moddhe, to understand how to work the ship, how to work the animals was life-altering. So there, I started first incorporating interdisciplinary perspective, right? So obviously, thank you. Obviously, there was participant observation because I was with them and I was working constantly with them. There's ecological investigation because I was starting to think, okay, if I want to study, if I want to understand the behavior of the
people or the feeling of the people, okay, I will take a relativistic perspective, yeah? That is what social scientists do. I can ask them, I can talk with them. What the hell do I do with the sharks? I can't ask them, Dada, apna kirikom laglo, during this experience. Then I realized, okay, I have to bring a more positivistic perspective. And I had to bring the ecological and an ethological perspective, eventually then taking a pragmatic worldview of my research. And yeah, for collecting data with sharks, so I collected data on sharks, the humans, the environment, the social connection that happens between these animals, the political impact, all of this, and obviously the economic impact too. It was a hotspot of technology conflict, and just like, I think this is really fun, in my body, I used to have all these equipments every day. I used to have cameras, I used to have knives and GPS trackers and everything. As a social scientist, I knew nothing of this because I was never trained to do. Even in anthropology, I was not trained to do that. So I had to learn everything on the go. But what I also learned in a work like this, if you're honest about your work, you will have people that gives you a helping hand. Intellectually, financially, spiritually, people always help me out. As a matter of fact, this is one of my friends, Ollie. Ollie is a shark conservationist based in Germany. They're right now, they're in Sweden, actually trying to change some shark finning laws there. So, we go back to the eras now of shark image. We started with pre-Jaws era, then we went to Jaws era. Now, we are now in the post-Jaws era. What is the post-Jaws era? That era that has ushered by the conservationists, including the one who were inspired by Jaws, actually. It is symbolized by, again, we're going back to the pre-Jaws era where they are fascinating and adventurous, but they're no longer monsters, at least in many of the cases. But still, some cases they are. But what I realized when I was doing this research, there was a deep lack of interdisciplinarity. I'm not getting into, what I understand as natural science and social sciences, or even humanities for that matter. But the fishers always said, এই যে সায়েন্টিস্টরা যারা হোয়াইট শার্ক নিয়ে কথা বলছে, they are not in the ocean. They hardly see them. We are in the ocean for the last decade. We go out in the ocean at least 100 days a year. But these people are not seeing the animals. Whereas the natural scientists started saying, "Arey baba, era to science jane na." How the hell do we believe them? We don't want to believe. I mean, I've had conflicts and ritimato jhamela hoyeche with senior scientists. Like they were saying, there are no female sharks in the region, right? I said, I saw a female shark 15 days back. What are you saying? So, but this conflict was absolutely there. And I was also the no one. I didn't come from natural sciences. And to trying to establish myself was another big fiasco that happened. Again, that's a much bigger story. But what I also realized, there was lack of knowledge system integration. Like I said, besides natural sciences and social sciences, there's also knowledge system like expert knowledge, scientific knowledge, native knowledge. Integration was a big problem. Incidentally, one of my guru, Steve Crawford, is actually writing the foreword for my latest book. Anyway, so Steve was the first guy. He's based in University of Guelph. Steve was the first guy who did integrative knowledge analysis of sharks of New Zealand. So from him, I started learning how to actually do that process. Then there was lack of multimodality. Okay, let me be very brief, right? What I started realizing, that this is again, I was trying to keep art away from my life, but art was coming back to me. Because I realized there's so much data that the different modalities of knowledge keeps, which is beyond verbal exchange, which is beyond written communication. There is so much sensory knowledge that is present in artistic expressions, in sensory art, which we don't articulate in these kind of discussion. And then I started realizing, okay, I have to start imbibing them in my research too. Here, I think we come to the the post-Jaws era. And I was trying to think, how can we ultimately change the image of sharks? And I realized that lately what people have been trying to do is to give out knowledge to change the image of sharks, image of white sharks. The problem with that is, of course, knowledge is important. But if you think about it, did Jaws change our idea about the sharks or our perceived image about the sharks because of lack of knowledge? No, because it connected with us emotionally. So to change that, we have to also connect with people emotionally. That's why I believe Dostoevsky is saying beauty will save the world. So when I started, speaking with people about the beauty of the sharks, then I started seeing change. Of course, there is knowledge, but you have to bring, because there are also we know there are many movies about the good whale. Yeah? That whales, we hear these stories. They're like, us, they have children and all those things. When have we heard stories about good sharks? We don't. Because it's that hyper-real image still eating us, and it is also killing these sharks. So yeah, that is what I think a post-Jaws era has to be. Now, very briefly, I finished that work. I came back to India. I completed that PhD, but what was my purpose? I'll not take more than 10 more minutes. I'll be done. It again came to me, what is my purpose? I think that's when I realized there was another story which needed to be told. That was the story of Kamot. I had this hunch that Kamots were sharks. I wasn't sure because there was no official documentation of that. I said, let's go and see. So I went to Sundarban, and that took the last 5 years of my life. And this is what I found. A human-shark conflict, which is older than at least 100 years, that has been going there. Hardly ever spoken about, because there is the enigmatic tiger that everyone is focused on. No one speaks about the sharks. So another very, very interesting thing, that in one side, there was the destruction of the people from these human-shark conflict. And the other, there was a destruction of the sharks. The entire region now, it's gone. The sharks who were there, gone. I've spoken with all the fishers that I will say last 15 years, we cannot see them. We have done so much devastation. Indian, Chinese, and other fleets in the mouths of the river have taken everything away. And amader focus on the tigers, as it should be, these marine animals are gone, who could have been there for potentially millions of years. Millions of years. There's also another very fascinating thing, that there are three major predators in the region, right? Tigers, crocodiles, and sharks. Tigers and crocodiles you can find in the folklore, art, stories, everything. There is not a single mention of sharks in their entire folklore history. Not a single. Yes, ma'am.
One comment.
Yeah.
Are you making shark, হাঙরের ইংরেজি কি shark বলছেন?
হাঙরের ইংরেজি হলো shark, and হাঙরকে ওই রিজনে বলা হয় কামট।
সেটা আমি বুঝতে চাই, কিন্তু হাঙরের ওপরে কিন্তু বাংলা লেখা আছে প্রচুর পরিমাণে, বেশ কিছু লেখা আছে, গল্প বা এভাবে। কিন্তু
সুন্দরবনে ম্যাম?
সুন্দরবন নয়, হাঙরের ওপরে।
আমি সুন্দরবনের কথা বলছি।
না, আমি সুন্দরবনের কথা বলছি না, আমি অ্যাজ এ হোল প্রচুর জানি।
হ্যাঁ, কিন্তু স্যার ওই ফোকলোরে
যে শার্কের বাংলা হিসেবে হাঙর দিয়ে কিন্তু লিটারেচার রয়েছে। লিটারেচার বলতে কিন্তু নট রিসার্চ লিটারেচার,
আচ্ছা,
স্টোরিজ এক্সেট্রা এগুলো আছে।
খুব ভালো ম্যাম। যদি প্রথমত আমি পার্টিকুলারলি যদি ওই রিজনে হয়, কারণ আমাকে পার্টিকুলারলি অল দ্য পিপল আই হ্যাভ স্পোকেন টু হান্ড্রেডস অ্যান্ড হান্ড্রেডস অফ পিপল, যে ওখানে যে অরিজিনাল ফোকলোর কোনো মেনশন নেই। আমি জানি না কন্টেম্পোরারি, না কামটের কোনো মেনশন নেই স্যার, নেই।
পাইনি, আমি হাঙর পেয়েছি, সেটাই বলছি।
ডাঙায়, হ্যাঁ এক্স্যাক্টলি, কিন্তু ফোকলোর আমি কিছু পাইনি। and if I can get something from you, I'll be ecstatic.
আমি যেগুলো পড়েছিলাম সেগুলো,
Ma'am, I will definitely look into that.
ভাঙর মাল্লা এই একটা নাম আমি পেয়েছিলাম
বাহ।
রবীন্দ্রনাথ দত্তর লেখার মধ্যে
অসাধারণ। ওকে, তাহলে আমি আই উইল গেট দ্যাট ফ্রম ইউ। সো অ্যাগেন বাট ফোকলোরতে অন্তত সেগুলো আমি কিছু দেখতে পাচ্ছি না। আই ডোন্ট নো ওয়াই। So where did I fit in? So I guess here again, I suppose I realize I'm not the best anthropologist in the world. I'm not the best psychologist in the world. I'm not the best artist in the world. What I am is I'm an integrator. My research perspective, multi-species research perspective in New Zealand will not work here for the simple factor, okhane, if you have a 5-foot shark, if you have a 20-foot shark, you can see them. You can see the interaction with human beings. Sundarban, half an inch underneath the water, you don't know where they are. So that normal multi-species perspective will not be working there. Again, I did hundreds and hundreds of hours of investigation with all of them. And I also did another very interesting thing. I thought that I had to bring the art into this discussion. So what I did was যে ওখানে মা গঙ্গার যে পুজোটা হয়, I spoke with the local people যে why can't we do মা গঙ্গা পুজো but have the kamot as the bahun instead of Makar, because as we know Makar is a mythical creature. So that's what I did. We created a new version of the goddess with kamot as our vahan. And আমি ওখানে থেকে রাতে পর রাত আমি নিজে আর্টিজানরা আমরা সবাই ওইটাকে we have created, and সেখানে আমরা পুজো করেছি, and women who suffered shark bites, they came. The point of this was to bring attention. আমরা মিডিয়াকে আনলাম যে তোমরা দেখো এই কনফ্লিক্টটা হয়েছে, why aren't we speaking about this? And also these women, people who are affected by shark bites gets attention. People who are affected by kamot bite don't get attention. To give them some social attention that they deserve. And I will never forget this young girl. And I took this image and I then started thinking, what is she looking at? What is the future that she is thinking about? What is going to be the condition of the ecology of the region? And what's going to happen to the people that are there? This is another lady, bowing in front of the goddess. Okay, then the next, I'm coming to why this is transdisciplinary research. Then the next part came to sustainability. That what can we do actually create sustainable endeavors for these particular women? Obviously, as we know, Sundarbane onek efforts hoy. But I realized there was no particular handicraft from that region that I could identify. So I basically said, why don't we get the mati, which is, renewable resource there, and we make idols there. Make these people make idols of everything they see in their life, the animals they see in their life. So আমি গভর্নমেন্ট আর্ট কাছ থেকে দুটো ছেলেকে নিয়ে দুজন ইয়াং স্কাল্পটারদের নিয়ে আমি চলে গেলাম সুন্দরবন। সেখানে গিয়ে we made a 3 days workshop and we created hundreds of these kind of dolls with them. These are all shark attack victims. And I hired a shop for a year, and যেখানে we started selling them. So see, that's a presentation of a kumir, by one of the women there. And we created the terracotta shop. Now, to support the sharks, so this is one part supporting the humans. Then comes supporting the sharks. So what I did, like with SNU, we are creating a handbook for local sharks to hand out to fishers. We're about to create a doctrine for local for legislation to support shark, a multi-species approach. And also, there's something called common heritage perspective that I want to bring to human-shark interaction. Common heritage, basically, the logic was that every human being has common heritage over the shared water. Now I'm arguing, why doesn't an animal like shark also have, lineage and ability to ask for common heritage? We will not save sharks because, of course, they are apex marine predators. They're an important part of the ecosystem, but we need to survive, help them survive because that is their rights. Not just for the, we need to survive for next generation, but it's their right to survive. This was the last day of my research. I'll never forget this. Her name is Komala Roptan. 20 years back, she suffered a shark bite. When I went there, এই ছোট, এইটুকু একটা ছোট ঘর, 12 feet by 6 feet ঘর,
And I started asking her the story, but she couldn't say because by that time she was suffering full-grown Alzheimer. এই ইনসিডেন্টটা পরে কোনো কিছু ট্রিগার হয়েছে যে she got so much PTSD, she couldn't even get in the pond. বাড়ির সামনে পুকুরে গিয়ে স্নান করতে উনি পারতেন না। So গত 20 বছর her son had to fetch water for him to bathe. When I was doing this 2 years before this, my grandmother also died, from a long stretch of Alzheimer's, and I couldn't finish taking this data. And I had to stop, I had to come back. And what was my purpose? Like I said, it's integration. Here I started developing the shark approach. So the difference, the transdisciplinarity basically means it obviously integrates multiple disciplines, but it also creates science for the common good. That is the main aim. There is also a lot of discussions and integration between different knowledge systems. That's the difference between interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary research. So this is the approach I created over the last 1.5 years. I've created shark human holistic research and knowledge system, decrease in shark population and significant amount of unmitigated human-shark conflict issues. Globally, sharks is a transdisciplinary, trans-knowledge, transmodal, multi-species approach to education, creation, analysis, and dissemination of shark knowledge in its application in policy for the common good. এটার মধ্যে এই কটা facet আছে. We have to first demystify sharks. We have to take the multi-species approach. We have to understand the trans-knowledge system. We have to integrate transdisciplinarity, modality, and acknowledge the common heritage of these animals. And this is, by the way, this is one of the archival images I had collected from Bluff, where I was based in New Zealand. This was never seen before I did it. And at the end, remember, my friends, beauty will save the world. Thank you. Of course. Please.
জাস্ট ছোট্ট একটা অবজারভেশন, সেটা হয়তো এটার মধ্যে ফিট ইন করে না, তবু এই বলছিলেন না যে সুন্দরবনে অ্যাকচুয়ালি কামট হারিয়ে গেছে, শার্ক হারিয়ে যাচ্ছে, কল্পকথা ইত্যাদির মধ্যে রয়ে যাচ্ছে। আমার জাস্ট শুনতে শুনতে মনে হচ্ছিল যে দেয়ার ইজ আ ডিফারেন্ট কাইন্ড অফ আরবান ট্রান্সফরমেশন অফ দিস। যেরকম যদি কলকাতা হোক, যে কোনো জায়গা তো যারা অ্যাকোয়ারিয়াম লাভার্স, অ্যাকোয়ারিয়ামের শার্ক পোষা হয় এক ধরনের, দেয়ার আর রেনবো শার্কস, দেয়ার আর সিলভার শার্কস, অন্য স্পেশি, রাইট, আই নো, আই আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ড।
ওগুলো শার্ক না, ওগুলো শার্ক না,
সেইটা আমি বলছি। এটা হয়তো মানে মানুষের এক ধরনের স্যাটিসফ্যাকশন যে আমরা যে শার্ককে ভয় পাই সেই শার্ক in the having in the aquarium and
না, ওগুলো বনি ফিশ, শার্কস আর কার্টিলেজিনাস ফিশ, শার্কস আর কার্টিলেজিনাস ফিশ।
এই যে হারিয়ে যাচ্ছে, এটা কি ওভার গ্রেজিং হচ্ছে নাকি?
স্যার, প্রথমত কোনো ডেটা নেই, ইট ডাজন্ট এক্সিস্ট। প্রথমত যেই মানে আমরা দ্য ডেটা ইজ ফ্রম IUCN। এবার প্রবলেমটা কি হচ্ছে, IUCN পায় পিপল যারা ফিল্ডে আছে তাদের কাছ থেকে ডেটা, ফিল্ডে লোক নেই এখন। দ্য পিপল হু অ্যাকচুয়ালি ডিড সাম ওয়ার্ক, তারা এখন নেই। সো উই হ্যাভ নাথিং। আমরা কোথা থেকে বুঝছি শার্কস নেই? when we are speaking with the fishes, তারা বলতো হ্যাঁ 15 বছর আগে তুমি এখানে একটা ওই দিলেও আমরা পেতাম। এখন তুমি সারা সপ্তাহ খুঁজেও তুমি পাবে না। অ্যান্ড যখন when I'm speaking with multiple people, সেটা কেন হচ্ছে আমি আপনাকে বলছি। তার মেজর কারণটা হলো আনমিটিগেটেড ব্রড স্কেল ফিশিং, যেটা আমাদের ওই মোহনাতে হচ্ছে। মোহনাতে ওই বার্জেসগুলো আসছে, তারা ওখান থেকে ওভারফিশিং করে নিয়ে চলে যাচ্ছে। ওভারফিশিং অ্যান্ড স্যার দ্যাট ইজ ওয়ান রিজন। অ্যান্ড দ্যার ইজ অবভিয়াসলি স্যার ডিস্ট্রাকশন। এই সুন্দরবনটা একটা প্লাস্টিকের হাব হয়ে গেছে এখন। অ্যান্ড আরেকটা দেশ দিস আর্গুমেন্ট যে 80s এর সময় যখন ওই প্রথম ওদের ভটভটিগুলো আসা শুরু করলো, সেই ভটভটিগুলো ডিজেলের জন্য, ডিজেল এবং সাউন্ড পলিউশনের জন্য দ্য বিগ শার্কস ডিক্রিজ কামিং। আরেকটা জিনিস হলো যে যেহেতু শার্কের ওই আপনার জলের হাইট কমে যাচ্ছে, সো তার জন্য বড় শার্ক ঢুকতে পারছে না।
So there are so many factors. This is all an assumptions because at the end no one knows. We can understand these are relation of these factors.
এদের রিপ্রোডাকশন রেট সম্পর্কে কোনো রিসার্চ আছে?
Yeah, a lot of research on that.
And what is the summary of that?
Summary স্যার এটা it depends on the species. যত বড়
Is it very high or?
স্যার যত বড় তত তাদের কম, হ্যাঁ। সো এগুলো ইফ ইউ যেমন দ্যার ইজ দ্য মিল্কি শার্ক এখন ওখানে পাওয়া যায়, যেটা বাই দ্য ওয়ে লট অফ আস ইট হিয়ার টু। আমরা যখন ওই দোকান থেকে ফিশ ফ্রাই খাই, লট অফ দ্যাম ইজ অ্যাকচুয়ালি শার্কস। কিন্তু যে মেজর স্পিসিসগুলো আসছিল, বড় স্পিসিসগুলো আসছিল, স্যার তারা নেই বললেই চলে। অ্যান্ড এই যে ধরুন বাইটসগুলো আমি ডকুমেন্ট করেছি 20 years ব্যাক, সেই বাইট এখন কে বুঝবে কি? আই স্পোকেন উইথ দ্য ডক্টর্স যারা তখন দে ডকুমেন্টেড অল অফ দিস থিংস, বলছে আমরা তো তখন ছবি তুলিনি বা ওরাও ছবি তুলেনি, উই জাস্ট ওয়ান্টেড টু মেক শিওর যে এই লোকটা বাঁচে। অ্যান্ড হোয়াট দে ইউজ টু ডু ওয়াজ কেটে গেলে চিনি দিত, এখনও দেয় বাই দ্য ওয়ে। শার্ক বাইট হলে চিনি দেয়, যে হোমিওস্টেসি হয় নাকি সেই না আমি ভুল টার্ম বললাম, আই এম সরি, ফরগট দ্য টার্ম। সেটা হয়ে তখন ব্লাডটা নেই, ক্লট করে যেত। তারপরে সেটা দে ইউজ টু ব্রিং টু ডক্টর্স অ্যান্ড তারা স্টিচ করে। মোস্ট অফ দেম 20-25 বছর বাদেও স্টিল সাফার পেইন ইন দ্যাট রিজন, স্টিল তাদের পাস হয়ে যায় এই রিজনে। এরা এখনও গভর্নমেন্ট দিয়ে কোনো হেল্প পায় না। আমি জানি না ম্যাম, তার কারণ হলো টাইগার অ্যাটাক পায়, শার্ক অ্যাটাক পায় না, এখনও পায় না। ইয়েস স্যার, ইয়েস স্যার।
What you did was link it with Ma Ganga, but
Yeah.
I think in Sundarban people identify more with Bon Bibi.
Sure,
So
sure.
why don't you link it up with Bon Bibi rather than
একদমই মানে মা গঙ্গা মানে একটু ইজি, কারণ ওই জল ছিল তো, তো সেই অনুযায়ী আই ডিড, বাট ইউ অ্যাবসলিউটলি মেকিং সেন্স। ইয়া, জঙ্গলের, সেটাই তো ব্যাপার স্যার।
কনফ্লিক্ট অফ ইন্টারেস্ট ওভার দেয়ার।
স্যার এই যে স্যার টাইগার প্রোটেকশন আমরা করছি, এগেন অফকোর্স ভাইটালি ইম্পর্টেন্ট, বাট সেটা করছি বিকজ কিস্টোন স্পিসিস অলসো টাইগারকে দেখা যায়, একটা হলুদ টাইগারকে দেখা যায়। একটা শার্ক পার্টিকুলারলি এই ধরুন যেগুলো এখানে যদি বুল শার্ক হয়ে থাকতো, ইটস ব্রাউন, so you can't see them, so visual present. I have had a lot of time National Geographic's Discovery Channel contact me, একটা ডকুমেন্টারি করুন, খুব ভালো কথা, চলো করছি। হ্যাঁ, সো কোথায় আমরা শার্কগুলো শ্যুট করতে পারবো, কোথায় দেখতে পারবো, কোথাও দেখতে পারবে না মানে, বিকজ ইউ কান্ট ইউ লাইক, আমি যদি অস্ট্রেলিয়া থাকতাম, নিউজিল্যান্ডে থাকতাম, ইউ ক্যান গেট ইন দ্য ওয়াটার অ্যান্ড টেক দোজ ভিডিওজ, আমি যেগুলো নিজেও করেছি। বাট এখানে বিকজ অফ দি ভিজিবিলিটি অফ দ্য ওয়াটার ইউ কান্ট সি দেম, ইউ কান্ট শুট দেম, সো সেই কারণে সেটার প্রমোশনও কম।
আচ্ছা, বাংলাদেশের সুন্দরবনের
অনেক ইনসিডেন্ট আছে, অ্যাবসলিউটলি। আমি ওদের কিছু জনের সঙ্গে আমার কন্ট্যাক্ট আছে, সো দের ইজ আ লট অফ ইন্টারাকশন দেয়ার, অ্যাবসলিউটলি। সব জায়গায় আছে। আমাদের এই যেই সব ঘাটগুলো, বাবুঘাট অ্যান্ড অল দিস ঘাটস, এখানে আগে শার্ক অ্যাটাকস হতো অ্যাবাউট 100 years ব্যাক, কিন্তু এখানে আগে রেগুলার শার্ক অ্যাটাক হতো। দ্যাট ওয়াজ দিস ডক্টর ফ্রেয়া, সে এগুলোকে ডকুমেন্ট করতো। অ্যান্ড মানে লিটারেলি আপনাকে অন্তত আমি 50টা স্টোরি দিতে পারবো, পুরো এই রিজনটায় হঠাৎ স্নান করছে, হাত নিয়ে যাচ্ছে, পা নিয়ে যাচ্ছে, রেগুলার, এই অল দিস বাবু ঘাটস অ্যান্ড অল দিস ঘাটস অ্যান্ড অল দিস প্লেসেস। So of course we don't want human to be hit, but the question is, যেই জন্তুগুলো again could have potentially been here for millions of years, কোথায় গেল তাদের? Where are they gone?
আচ্ছা, একটু অন্যরকম প্রশ্ন করে
Absolutely,
দিচ্ছি।
sir. Yeah.
প্রশ্ন কিছু না, একটা রেফারেন্স দেওয়া,
Yeah.
যে অনেক রকম লেখায় সুন্দরবনের এই সমস্ত অ্যানিমেল ট্যানিমেল নিয়ে লেখালেখি হয়েছে, কিছু রেফারেন্স বলে দিলেন। আমার একটা নামের কথা মনে হচ্ছে, অমিতাভ ঘোষের
হ্যাঁ, জানি টাইগার,
Hungry Tide.
হাংরি টাইডস,
হাংরি টাইড,
yeah.
ওটার মধ্যে ডিটেলস অনেক কিছুই বলা আছে, বিশেষ করে ইরাবতীর কোনো
হ্যাঁ,
ইয়ে নেই,
হ্যাঁ, ডলফিন নিয়ে আছে স্যার, শার্ক নিয়ে Hungry
সেটা
Tides,
নিয়ে
হ্যাঁ।
অনেক ডলফিন,
হ্যাঁ,
ইরাবতী
ডলফিন নিয়ে আছে স্যার, হ্যাঁ।
আলোচনাগুলো ওখানে আছে, ওটা একটা রেফারেন্স হিসেবে
একদম স্যার, of course I had to go through that at the very beginning. Yes sir, absolutely.
থ্যাংক ইউ।
আমি একটা অন্য প্রশ্ন করছি।
একদম ম্যাম।
The description I have from you, or rather the analysis and the description. So my mind is wondering whether technology's appearance has been able to capture in those areas you just mentioned, Australia, New Zealand, the existence of the shark and the variety of it, probably. Probably.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the problem is if we just talk about physical documentation, I have a lot of friends who do free diving with sharks. Recently, we're working on Western Australian sharks and the interaction with people. So I have a lot of friends who free dive with sharks, and they go in the
No, it's
water.
a related question.
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম কেন আপনি বলছি they
okay.
go in the water and take the video and all those things. যেটা বলছি সুন্দরবনে সেটা পসিবল না।
সেইটি আমি জিজ্ঞেস করছি তাহলে then regional positions
Yeah.
or zonal positions, where are you situated, is determining shark risk.
Oh, of course, absolutely.
So one important variable is where they are.
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ একদম, and not only that, then the finances also come. মানে স্যার ধরুন এখন যদি শার্ক অ্যাটাক, এখন যদি অস্ট্রেলিয়ার শার্ক অ্যাটাক হয় or আমেরিকার শার্ক, ক্যালিফোর্নিয়া যেটা রেগুলারলি মানে রেগুলারলি না হয় at least 5 a year, then there is a helicopter waiting to pick them up, you know. But of course we don't have the thing here. Yes sir.
Point is, turbidity of the Sundarban Bay of Bengal is the main problem of locating the shark, isn't it? Because it becomes so opaque.
Sir,
within
sir,
a
আমার মনে হয় স্যার
short
এটা, I
distance.
think it's a two matter fact. Of course, it is the absence of visibility, the turbidity. Then there is also the social part to it, that people don't want to think about them.
না আমি যেটা ভাববার চেষ্টা
Yes, sir.
করছিলাম যে as a future
Yeah.
kind of thing, if we start going out, there might be a part, say 100 miles
Sure.
downstream.
Sure.
There still might be sharks available. And in order to, it could be 200 miles. I'm not.
No, I'm
Say,
researching, huh.
what about the Andaman Nicobar Island nearby?
Oh, you're saying that way, ওইদিকে মানে outside Sundarban? হ্যাঁ, yeah, of course
There
are.
should be.
Yeah.
So এইবারে কতটা অবধি রেডিয়াসে তারা আসতে পারছে, if we can map that, একটা যেখানে ভিজিবিলিটি থেকে পাওয়া যেতে পারে, আর একটা এখান থেকে using sonar like device. You see, you can always say that things are not being done. But
No.
what could we think as a future
Yeah,
perspective?
yeah.
I mean, let
Sir,
us do some gedanken.
No, so ekdom, sir. So I'll answer those things. I'll address those things. First and foremost, yeah.
Because I'm the bad reputation of time determination. That's it.
No, please,
The last
sir. Okay,
question
yeah.
for you.
Okay, absolutely.
You answered later. You'd like to ask them. Then ask the question so that Rachita
Okay.
can actually.
Sir, I'll come back to you, sir. Yeah. Please go on. Yeah.
Can you please give the microphone? Okay, thank you, sir. Sir, as you said, you're the first one who have done such a research and all of that, and this is just out of curiosity. All the serious questions have been asked. So this is, from your poster as well, I asked you twice. So this is this the photo that you would like to, share? And you said, yes, this is the one. So I guess from that, we do understand that you do have a very endearing relationship with sharks. So, would you like to talk about that relationship? And then as one of the first researchers, I'm really curious to know whether you're writing a book on that particular thing. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Actually, I get this question a lot. To do this, first and foremost, my first book on the New Zealand expedition is already out 2022. We are releasing my next book by SNU publishers. And I mean, officially, this 30th, I will hand over the manuscript to Sir. I've been working on this for the last 4 years or so. Let me just put it this way. When I was young, sharks were just something something to aspire to. Again, they were big and strong and sexy and masculine and all those traditional way of looking at sharks. As I got older, sharks started becoming my muse. I had a lot of paintings where I started working with sharks because they helped me, express a certain part of me. And then they became when I started doing my research, they became my everything. You know, my focus, my heart, everything. You know, my life. Now, sharks are my language. I think through sharks. When I express myself, the image and the energy of the shark is something that I express myself. So when I am sad, I think through sharks. When I'm happy, I think through sharks. So they are a part of my existence, for lack of a better word, my entire entity. That's all.
Okay. You'll get back to Professor Thakur afterwards. Let Hiranjan. But remember, this is a joke or a mystic one. If you're much in love with shark, other people may also be afraid of you.
They are.
They are.
They are.
I'm right.
No, he doesn't like sharks, sir. He doesn't like sharks.
But man, that is something I didn't know. Okay. Professor Shilanjan Bhattacharya from State University, West Bengal. Okay, আমরা শার্প থেকে এবার কাকে যাচ্ছি?
What a descent.
What an interesting journey.
Just before we start, I want to make a comment. Rajshekhar is really passionate about sharks, with justified. But anyone can be passionate and lament for any wildlife, any animal in Sundarbans. They are not studied at all. Even the black species which is so campaigned for, tiger, no one can show me a single scientific paper which is worth reading yet. This is unfortunate, but this is our country, this is our system. I would rather deviate from it to a topic where at least I don't see any purpose or any usefulness. It's just for the fun of science. I looked at it. The crows, well, I gave a thing, the other intelligent social biped in my neighborhood. I declared it as intelligent as Indians, at least in the plains, in the open plains, not in the sylvan areas. People are most, well, if a single animal, if you pick up, whom you know well, it's very likely the crow. If it is a village area, it might be the darkak or what we call the jungle crow. Nowadays we call it jungle crow, large-billed jungle crows. If it is an urban area, marketplace in the rural areas, it's the patikak or Indian common crows. So I will try to show you that how little we know about the most familiar, close, and very often appearing in the folklores. Folklores rather indicate many things which even in our common scientific knowledge here, we ignore. So that's next. May I operate it myself? Yeah, please, I will. It would be convenient for me then. See, if we call it very, casually, someone intelligent, even the stupidest of our beloved person, we call, he's very intelligent, she is very intelligent. But here I want to, as I am talking about science, let me try to define what I would call intelligence. In science, more we use the word cognition, as in psychology or psychiatry. And there is another word called consciousness, which in the continuum of intelligence or cognition, which is used, I'll show you, I'll not deal much with you because it's very controversial and it's not very well defined too. Yet I will touch upon it. When you call some organism as intelligent, number one, it should have very good memory, capacity of memory. Memory could be long-term, like short-term ones, but when memory it has long-term memory. It has episodic memory. This is the jargon used for when someone can remember an event from the past efficiently. When the organism, animal, can identify us, remember a space, and can go back or act locating it, we call it spatial memory. And then there is another memory of face recognition. For example, today I saw many of you, and with my very commendable ability to forget, most of you I'll forget, but I will remember the face, but I forget. Generally, I have a very poor nominal memory, and which has been affected by COVID, most probably. Nowadays, I remember the face, but cannot associate the names, even sometimes very close. So face recognition is considered as a thing of intelligence. See, remember, this is not in human terms we are describing it. It's in the rudimentary form. These are the things it present in one organism will tell that the memory part of the cognition is there. Then, if an organism, an animal can make tool, what is a tool? To do some work, if it is anything other than its own organs, any object it uses to make the task easier. All of you know that chimpanzees, you have seen in Animal Planets, that how they use a stick to put inside a termite hole and get the termites sticking to it, called termite fishing. This is a tool use. If the animal uses tool, then we consider it. Not only that, according to the situation, if the chimpanzee uses something else somewhere to make it easier, according to the situation, we call it context-dependent variation in the tool. And not only tool, there is another level when the animal can make the tool. That means whatever physical object it is getting to be used as tool, it mends it purposely to make it more efficient. Then we call it tool making. When we see that animal is innovating some method, some way to get some task done, and that innovation, that skill or information is passing through the groups to other individuals, of course not by genetic. We pass through the reproduction, the genetic information from one generation to another generation to do lots of things. But here it is passed socially from one individual to other. We term cultural transmission. This is used in evolutionary biology, so I'm sticking to that. And then causal reasoning. If there is an event happened, if the animal try to find out the reason behind it, suppose I remove it here and she will try to, that I have removed it. Why it is there? After looking at, she will consider very likely I have removed it. It's a causal reasoning. Something like that. Time-dependent calculations to predict future. That I will wait, I'm served, say, with a milk coffee, but I know after the milk coffee, the black coffee comes, and that's my preference. I will rather skip this and wait for that. That is called predictive ability, time-dependent. Then theory of mind. You know that the autists don't have theory of mind. That means they cannot think what others are thinking. For example, suppose Rajshekhar has kept the purse on the table and then left for washroom. And Chandni goes there, removes it, hide it here. Then I'm an artist. If you ask me, say where Rajshekhar will try to find it out. If I'm an artist, I'll say here. Normal person will tell Rajshekhar will search there itself.
But Shilanjan, sorry to interview. This is all very positivistic. All of the examples are positivistic. Suppose you don't see and you just have to feel, intuition, etc., which are part of theory of the mind later on also. What will happen? I had something, you have seen it, you stole it in my absence.
I'm talking about the most rudimentary part of theory of mind.
Okay.
Don't, because
I-
we'll be
how
judging the animals. Those whom we consider there is
But
absolutely no
animals are
cognition.
diversified though. I mean, you can't say animals and equate
Non-human. Non-human. Non-human.
non-human animals. Okay.
Of course, we are talking about non-human animals. Then, if you find there are complex of social interactions, there is hierarchy, there are separate kind of treatments to the individuals according to the hierarchy, all these sort of things called social interaction. Even animal consciousness, think consciousness is such a, in the spiritual term, it's something very difficult to handle for us, for me at least. Here, for this non-human animal consciousness, we are considering or identifying, recognizing self. For example, if an animal look at a mirror, you will see that a dog suddenly looking at a mirror, finding its own image, will howl at it, thinking it's a different same. But if you find a chimp, you have put something here, a color, or something sticking here, it didn't, was aware of. Looking at the mirror, if it rubs to find out, that means it is recognizing the image as the self. This is the rudimentary consciousness as we define for our purpose. And so far, in many animals it has been claimed experimentally, but counter claims also there. So no one is very sure whether chimps are the closest to have some kind of self-recognition. And other organism, it has not been thing. Now from there, I will try to tell you, traditionally, which are the animals we know, recognize as intelligent ones. Chimp, of course, then dolphins, then elephants and parrots. Not our parakeets, parrots, macaws and all other parrot groups. In recent years, following those definitions of rudimentary quality of cognitive ability, we now identify orangutans. We even go quite surprising to the non-vertebrate world. Octopus are considered having some kind of cognitive ability they're claimed for. And of course, today's topic, crows. If you have seen this kind of scene, I don't know whether you have seen, but it's not very uncommon, where the crows is pressing the tap to get water from it. It's a very rudimentary form of tool use, an expression of cognitive ability, because it has seen a human being doing that and learned from it. So that transmission has been cultural across the species.
It reminds me of a picture I think all children probably have seen, that the stones are...
I will come to that
stones.
exactly.
Okay.
I'll glad. So, the crows belong to a family, commonly it's called corvids, corvidae family, because the generic name of the crow groups are corvus. There are a few, mostly in the Europe, America, and in the southern hemisphere also, like New Caledonia, the species which have been in focus by the researchers. See, I have not included a single species of Indian ones. I will, one by one, I will give you, is it possible to play it by copying, by any? I think so, you can just press it. No, it will not. I couldn't. Will it?
Let's try, because the Wi-Fi is on.
Okay, that should. One or two movie will tell more things about whatever I explain. No, I don't think. I don't think. Anyway, the New Caledonian crows are traditionally known to use tools. For example, taking a stick, inserting inside the bark, and taking some worms out of it, grubs out of it to feed. And then in last 10-15 years, there are many experiments which have shown what they can do. For example, they mend also the tool. For example, they will take a string and straight string given, they will bend the head of it to pull out a can with a handle dipped inside a tube. The can, of course, has some attraction for them, the reward for them, a piece of meat. So they can mend the tool, they can make the tool. Then another level, the New Caledonian crow has been given task, multi-tool use. For example, in these tubes, except one has the reward, but that is kept so deep that it has to use the longest stick to bring it out. But the longest stick cannot be brought out by the middle-sized stick. And middle-sized stick cannot be brought out, has to be brought out by the small stick only. They are in 3 different tubes. So the crow goes first to the small stick, takes it out by beak because it's reachable. Then with the help of that short stick, it can reach the middle-sized sticks and take out, throw away the small stick, pick up the middle stick, then again collect the largest stick and then insert it to find out the rear. This shows this sequential use of tools in a correct order reflects the level of intelligence once available.
Is there a mistake in the link? Do you have a full stop after TU?
No, I just copied it from the.
No, but it shows the YouTube doc.
No, it is like that.
It is that. Oh, that's what I'm asking.
See what you were telling about enacting Aesop's fable. So the story you know everyone, so I'm not repeating. The crow has to pick up a fruit or food, and it was deep inside the jar, so it started in the water. So it started dropping pebbles, and once it's following the Archimedes principle, so as if it knew the physics, so it acted and found out. This is exactly had been, I'll show you later. Oh, I added because I thought that movie could be shown. Unfortunately, you could see that a crow is picking up pebbles of different size, picking up only the heaviest one, rejecting the smaller ones, because the heaviest one will, and bigger one will bring the water faster than the smaller ones. Smaller ones have to drop several times. Also, it has been, as a control, it has been given sawdust. The food is kept in the tube on the sawdust in the same depth. It refused to drop the stone there because it clearly understood that it won't work. as I said, context-dependent tools. It has been found in New Caledonian crow that if a reward is kept nearer to a snake model, which the crow is fearful of, it will tend to use a longer stick to get the food, rather than if it is kept near an harmless, apparently harmless model. As I said, there are experiments which shows that corvids can decide if a future exchange is worth waiting for. Ravens, another kind of European crow, differentiate between knowledgeable and ignorant competitors. That when the crows have the habit of, you might have noticed, excess food they cache, they keep store, hide it in some holes. It's those who observe crows, it's a very common thing. And also plug it. And they're very careful whether others watching. I will show in our work, very little work with the MSc students we did, where I showed that how this stealing and hoaxing is present in the crows. So the ravens have been found that those who know that hide, they will try to avoid storing there. But in front of naive individuals, though they didn't have any knowledge about that hide, they regularly keep it there. The most interesting part I found the face recognition. See, I got interest in the crow from my childhood for two things. One was their mischievousness. I used to get amusement by seeing crows just bullying the cats, bullying the dogs, bullying the cows by pulling their tail, pulling their ear, just for fun. You cannot explore any purpose involved with that. Just for fun, they are bullying, they bully. Second, I was interested because I remember when I was a child, a primary school student, a crow made nest on a coconut tree in my maternal uncle's house. At the time I was staying there, studying there. So my grandma told to remove it because crows bring, those old ladies are scared of, they will bring some ito things, dirty things. And it was really dropping things there. So my youngest uncle was asked to climb and remove it. And he did it, despite lots of protest and attacks from the crows. But I remember after that, crows used to swoop on him and attack him wherever he was seen. So much so, to avoid that, he thought by following common knowledge, suggestion from others, remove the hair. But yet, he was recognized and attacked. And he went for several years, at least 3-4 years. No, one whole area. And you remember, it was in the late 60s, when I'm talking about.
No, and I think everybody has probably seen that in Kolkata city, those who grew up, that if there is suddenly a huge number of crows and sort of biting scenario, and they are all saying ka ka ka, so it's a really problematic matter. Then found out that a crow is dying, actually dead on the main, and about 25 crows gathered and shouting. And the person, exactly like his uncle probably, and the person who probably was responsible in the next door house cannot go out, because the moment he goes out, 10 crows come and try to pick on it. So
Ma'am, I will tell, because you have participated in my research also.
I already participated. Good.
See, I told everyone has observed, but didn't realize that these are researchable things. So this, what event, this is 67, 68, 69, maybe even. Now, in last 5 years ago, John Merzloff and his group walked on American crows and found out experimentally wearing a mask, which some smiling mask, some neutral mask, some aggressive showing masks, grimacing mask, they disturb the crows and went on observing what happens then using the marks. They recognize which one is attacking mask. Someone grimacing, someone was showing teeth, like that sort of thing. And they ignored the neutral mask, rather show fearlessness, approach close to the smiling ones. But the fearful mask, they remember, and it sprayed it from the, and fearful mask one used in trapping the crows. And after trap, they released it. So the trauma was given, and they associated with this facial posture. And they followed it. They found that the recognition of this face continued, especially up to 1.2 kilometer radius among the crows there. And for 5 years, this episodic memory remained there for 5 years. So,
normal or the general ratio you're saying 5 years?
no, this is one experiment. They have to do much more. See, why I mentioned my childhood event, I said we have in our crows those abilities, yet no one looked at it. There are lots of, I searched when literature desperately, I found papers on parasites on crows, some enzymatic electrolysis of crows, but whichever could be seen by eyes without any instrument, there was no effort. So quality of social relations is very complex, it has been found. They recognize who belongs to which hierarchy, accordingly associate them. Even you will find that after a fight, there is a chance that a crow will reconcile faster with the powerful one in the hierarchy. This is typical. You know, in chimps we know, in chimpanzees it has been already established very well, this kind of hierarchical understanding and treatment accordingly. And latest, when I searched it, because I have stopped researching seriously on crows for the last 5 years, when I searched 2 days ago for today's lecture, I found this is the latest paper which is shown in core vocalization. They will see, for example, to understand 3, to make you understand, if the crow want to make you understand that he needs 3, he will say caw, caw, caw. Up to 4 it can do. So experimentally they have claimed it. It's a, or ka, ka, ka. This is, in English it is caw. It's a crow language. Long back, around my PhD days, the great, I forgot the name. This is the problem with my nominal memory. The great lady who worked in Africa on elephant language, elephant communication, she was here in Mudumalai. I was starting my career, research career with elephants. I worked in Mudumalai for a year in elephants. She was there, and she was recording crows that time. And she, later I found, she has shown that there are 11 kinds of distinct types of calls. And my wife started feeding crows, say for the last 10 years, early in the morning. And even I could make out the crow is asking for food. Crow is asking for someone suspicious, around dubious character somewhere, like that sort of thing. And she could follow what they are telling. And the crow's way of communicating, if the food was not kept just on the kitchen window, bar, it will come and just push the soap box down. That's the way communicating that you have not given food in time. And this is not teaching, this is picking up from interacting with humans. So why crow's intelligence is important? In evolution, we used to consider that primate line has shown the evolution of intelligence or cognitive ability with the increase of neocortex continuously. And human is at the pinnacle, at the summit. The traditional view, as you see on the upper side, that crow, like animals, including crows, are very instinct driven. Instinct, which are the information used, are obtained through the genetic line. And humans are much dependent on culture because they have a frontal cortex which can deal with this. So you can see the traditional view which went up to 80s. Even today, many people have this idea that things. Slowly, the thing has changed, and you find the instinct area, which is in the purple, shades of purple in crow, which covered, and green area, which is cognitive area, was so less, now supposed to be like that sort of thing. And it was a dilemma because we know the frontal cortex or neocortex are the site of cognitive dealing. But in crow or in many birds, this is not well developed. Instead, Japanese scientists now they have found is the nidopallium with functional MRI. By doing these things, they have found it's the nidopallium area in birds deals with the cognitive ability learning, including learning. This is a simple thing which shows that if you consider a typical bird versus mammal, the nidopallium forebrain area contains much more active neurons than in the mammals. I have given reference to all the things, if any of the students need, they can further read it. So there are seen this, two of the groups are very intelligent, three groups I would say. One is crow, corvid, other is Citiculaidae, this is parrot group, and also the songbirds are also, they have good brain activity, but not so much in cognition, but in terms of musical capacity, learning and others. So, as I said, crow species which have been started are mostly from outside, in the northern hemisphere, some in the New Zealand area, and Japanese have started only recently working on macrorhynchus, that means our large-billed crow or dark-cock. Those are in the captive, but the most common creature before us are hardly ever studied. Let's see who has said. These are the two most common species, patikock and dark-cock, as they are called, so-called jungle crow or large-billed jungle crow, and the Indian house crow or Indian common crow. Are they study worthy? Don't trust me, trust Mark Twain. You should read it in the following the equator when he visited some parts of India, he wrote, and a very long passage he wrote about the crows. Please read, let me read, especially when he sat in the morning for tea, the crows will come closer, and he is saying in his own typical Mark Twainic way of humor, till I could, and they would sit there in the most unabashed way and talk about my clothes and my hair and my complexion and probable character and vocation and politics and how I came to be in India, what I had been doing and how many days I had got for it, and how I had happened to go unhanged so long, and when would it probably come off. And might there be more of my sort where I came from? And when would they be hanged? And so on, so on, so on. If you have little time and sit on your veranda, start looking at crows and do something, if the crows happens to be there, you must feel the same thing, the way you look. Just start with feeding for few days. Then you will see how do they study you. And they follow the gaze. I didn't mention all the details. If you look, suppose few crows are sitting there and you were doing, suddenly looked at here. We have recorded it. At once they start studying possible targets which I am looking at. This is really a sign of high cognition. There is another book I found from the archive, a Sahib called Douglas Dewar in Madras, wrote entirely a small book, but entirely on crows' mischievousness, funniness, and all kind of intelligent activities. None other than Salim Ali. There is hardly anything. Salim Ali has appeared in his 10 volumes of Indian bards with replay. One line I picked up when I read it. He said, the birdman of India on the house, the Indian house crow is cunning, intelligent, and having sense of humor. As Salim Ali, in those books, if you read, you will find how crispy and stingy in using words. He didn't use a single word without indicating something serious. So, I'm tempted to take it very seriously because my observations and everyone's observations are against the way they bully a cat, a cow, or a dog on the street just by pulling leg. I have seen copying sounds of a meow when they are bullying. Their amazing range of vocalization capacity
No, this
they
is
have.
amazing because we have been fed to kind of readings that a common crow or patikak is not that intelligent because the kokil.
That's an evolutionary story.
Is that true? Then the kak, patika, common crow, is stupid than even anywhere with the kokil.
Ma'am, not only crow. Not only crow. This is called brute parasitism. Brute parasitism is prevalent in many species. Other than crow, lots of other species also get this. There is an evolutionary puzzle. How they do it? The same puzzle stays how sperm could evolve. I tell you, evolution of sex. Where equal contribution started this journey of sex, then suddenly one started stopped contributing to the thing. That's a different issue because we'll be lost there. It's a parasitism then. But other party couldn't because they are trapped in it. Evolutionary. In some context, buddhi means not every aspect cognitive ability work. There are ways. There is a very evolutionary, what I say, trap into which they are bound. This crow or any bird regurgitate food by seeing some signs inside the throat. The quail or kokils, kids have evolved a similar thing. It copies. So it's a release switch of parental care. So how it evolved, it is not solved. It's a very, lots of equations and others. Coevolution is a host parasite thing. Host parasite is like that. Why hosts are yielding to thing? Mother Gadgil also long back wrote and pointed out Crow should be worked out. But Professor Gadgil, when I was taken as a student, he was very liberal and told what you want to work on. So first thing I said on crow, 2 species I said I was interested from the childhood, crow or street dogs, for evolutionary reasons and a thing. So he said that time was too early, nothing has been developed. Now I could talk about science and other things. I couldn't tell him what exactly the evolutionary method I will be using. So he pushed me towards his favorite subject, humans evolutionary behavior. So, as I said, face recognition and other terms. Here, see, when I joined WBSU from the very beginning, I was because of my 14 years thing, I already lost hope of doing any serious research and involved in teaching very seriously. I was happy with that. Now with the new university assignment, I thought I will start and went back to my old lover, crow. So what I did, I always believed that MSc student or BSc students, the teaching should be involving research also. The best way to do this. So small project they can do. And I got few students who worked with me in the very beginning. Those first 2 batches, which were considered worthless, after 13 years or 14 years, we found they were the best. Now my colleagues, those days I used to tell, and they used to say, no, they failed almost. That's why they couldn't get admission. They came to our university because no one was getting admitted. Now they are realizing they were the best because they used to study only textbooks. That's why they didn't score very high. Anyway, with these 2-3 students, I observed, and I just told them, you create a feeding center early in the morning, you start feeding crows on your roof. First, come up with the questions, with observations, and automatically we'll come up with the question. Then we'll relate to the theory and find out what is doable. Soon they found out, lots of things they found out. For example, face recognition thing was most interesting. If one girl told, see, every day I go with a maxi in the morning, and at home I wear some ear stud. One day, previous day there was a marriage party, so I was wearing a ring, flashy ring. So in the morning I went with that thing. The crow started coming and think they are very suspicious and they are not coming close. And they took half an hour instead of 5 minutes to approach the food closer to me. And I was first not sure what they're winking. But soon following their gaze, I found out they're looking at my face, very likely. Then I realized that I was worrying. This is not anecdote. Day after days they observed. For 3-4 years we continued doing this, 5-6 dissertation done. From that extraction we published a small note because Raghavendra Garakar insisted me that please publish, otherwise I was not interested in publication because I don't believe in much paper publication things which everyone considered stupid. But I love to write more for common people. I enjoy that. Here, they...
divide that common people and intelligent people. I hope, because that's what you just made a comment that I like to write for common people.
To communicate. So, communicate with the people who are not specialized. See, a paper is...
Do you consider those who have done a PhD as specialized?
That's a different story. No, here's a...
It gets complicated. Go ahead.
Yeah. It's a more those socio-psychological, all cutthroat. I don't think. You know what I mean. That's enough. So We found the crows excess piece of bread they used to be fed, they pick up and hide in some of the places. For example, the roof is with a bamboo thatch, so inside the bamboo. And then they will plug it with some clothes, some papers or something. And later they retrieve it. Sometimes they forget. Then they found, sorry, some crows don't bother to come and feed because there is a chaos, chasing and other things. They stay away, hiding behind the canopy. They watch, and when this crow, after catching the thing, closing it, go away happily, they come and steal it. That is, they have, they have counted the events and like that sort of thing. So we could, from the diary, we picked up exactly what is happening. Unfortunately, those days, they were not being able to use the camera, because camera was heavy. Those days, the moment they carry something, crows won't come, fly away. Plain observations, direct observations. This is called focal observations. In behavioral science, it is, I think. What is that? Say, for statistical reason, two kinds of observation, behavioral science we use, that is ethology. One is focal animal sampling, and all is scan for all animals, what they are doing. From that, all information we ultimately, numerical ones we pick up. So, the most interesting, very few, but then it was repeated, and I went through the literature, is it possible at all with the crow? Because some crow we found who have been pilferaged by crows like this, by their brethren like that, they started plugging the hole without food. I was quite surprised, and first it was reported, one of my students, I told that, no, go and carefully watch that. Or it might be a mistake, or it's aberration. Then several cases I found, although it is very minuscule in terms of statistical sample, but it's a rare phenomenon, so I thought of reporting it. And also it was supported because we found Brugnier and others who have studied other crows in details. They clearly said ravens, carrion crows, hoax their partners in hiding the food. Suppose they have found a source of food there, they know there, but if they watch that, they are followed by their group members, what they do, they try to fly away, they fly away in a different direction for a few minutes, and when these crows are distracted there, they come to the thing. And this, they claimed, is very common in other things. So I thought of reporting as is possible, then all plausible explanations we take that this might evolve, how this might evolve. So in the process we found one of the guys was watching for days the crow nest. It's very easy to watch this animal. The advantage of this, you don't need hardly any money or anything you need. You need dedicated students and some kind of follow-up things. So he came out with, and I gave him my personal Sony camera. Those days in mobile were not that good with the camera, unfortunately. But this heavy camera he has to hide and then record. Soon an event I found that when the crow pair together take care of the brood. So in one of the nests he found when the crow is just laid one egg. So it is supposed to lay another 2-3 eggs. And one of the crows, it is very difficult. The one problem of crow study is individual identification is very difficult, and sex, which is female, male, but there could have been other way we thought of. It could have been ringed also. those easily, that is not a very big deal. So one of the crows go away, and that other crow was sitting. Suddenly, another crow come, because it is not the same crow. He could find out. It went this way. Another crow. At that moment, within a second, it came and tried to mount the crow there, and tried to mate it with the thing. And it's for, say, 1 minute or so effort. The other crow came and just chased it away. So we thought of, no, I couldn't play it. I have a movie of it. He recorded it. The problem is that I am using this, those days, these are from 10 years old things, and they were in those HP laptop. And I am now using this Apple for some convenience, mainly weight advantage, because I always carry it. Now it is becoming very difficult. And frankly speaking, I've lost interest also in past, because Ashoka pulled me, otherwise I don't go anywhere to about any serious community thing. So this is all these things. And then you will find, as we were telling, there are daily bathing ceremony. The crows, it's we don't know what they do. Where you will find there is a hierarchy of going into the water. There are lots of ritual they follow. Then, as you were telling, what we call crow meeting, God knows. And their way they gather together and attack the common predator or potential predator, or someone is hurt, the crows come. There are lots of story to be understood if someone continues to watch. I'm lucky that my two lovers, the stray dogs, one of my students have picked it up. She is in ISA, Dr. Nivedita Bhadro. She is now quite internationally famous for her research in thing. I'm hoping someone else will pick up crows, because I couldn't go beyond the thing. What I use the crows, street dogs and elsewhere for teaching orienting my students in the MSc, those who have gone to IISc, those who have gone to ISAR and abroad, and doing very well. So I'm more than satisfied with that itself. I couldn't publish, I couldn't continue, someone else will do. But this is a very cheap, easy, in terms of infrastructure, chemicals, you don't cry. Everyone will cry hard and think, we don't have money, we don't have this facility, that facility. Who stops you doing this? So that's my argument. And if you ask now you can ask any corrosive buladi, I am really scared of, because this sociological, I don't know where I'm correct in terms of gender bias or this kind of things. I don't know, a very common guy.
No, I won't be able to tell about gender bias about crow.
Yeah,
but,
because we cannot identify who is
we cannot
she
answer
and
that
he.
question. But one thing I acknowledge in the sense that crow is the most, let's say, seen bird around us who were actually brought up in Kolkata. So that is the most.
Sparrows are also there.
Sparrows are less. Sparrows are not that much.
No. I mean, so if you're talking about the most commonly available birds,
That of
and the crows.
No, they are not same. I think quantity-wise they will not match.
now sparrows have gone down much.
I have seen at least in my life probably 10 or 15 sparrows. But
No.
You must be living in a place.
just a minute. It's an yearly observation. Yearly.
Okay. Okay, crows anyway, there is no debate that crows is one of the most.
Point is that over the years, let's say I was interested when I was at 20 or so. Over the years, I have seen that the crows are growing. I mean, many more are coming, but hardly sparrows. Until and unless you change certain localities, you don't see sparrows. I mean, there is no competition in that. But the point is, I mean, I wanted to know the social conditioning, which actually differentiates between the crows and the so-called sparrows.
Crows are, should I answer?
Yeah, but before that, I want to tell you three things, rather 3 points. In behavioral science, we use experiments, survey, observation. So it's not just 2 of them. As behavioral science, as we understand from the point of view of social one. So by doing that, actually, there are much less research on crows, probably in India. I was checking from your PPT. From there I got little interested. Then I went to Google. So these days we don't go to libraries, we go to Google, and then tried to find out researches on crows in India. Not much.
That's why I'm telling. There is hardly anything serious.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Ethogram is a time budget. These are old terminology jargons. Nowadays we use the time budget. Yeah, x-axis. Yeah, time budget.
So now, it is very interesting because we're speaking about this, the entire discourse about human interaction and this thing about intelligence has come up more and more in the last 20 years, especially in Europe and also certainly in America. So what is happening, the entire discourse of the multi-species perspective is now coming up. India has still a long way to go because multi-species economy accept kori na, je we accept the agency of the other animals as much as the humans taking part in the interaction. So this is now changing. Data which actually incidentally started with household pets like dogs and cats and stuff like that. Then it went, we started acknowledging cows and horses that people used to, people keep as, dairy and other kind of, animals. Then it is now, it is now a lot of research finally has been done with birds and understanding, redefining what do we understand by intelligence. And this entire fiasco about consciousness, we don't know consciousness in the human term, forget, animal consciousness. So that is such a problematic thing. Okay, now I'll give you an example. This is now, then we are taking this entire fiasco of agentiveness, individuality, and personhood. We are now taking it to fish. I'll just give you an example. I was in a conference in Adelaide, and so this young man was speaking about sociability of dolphins. And he's saying, how do we understand? Because they are in pods and we can see them close to each other. And I said, hold on. So you're defining sociability just by physical proximity among the animals. In that case, we have big white sharks who are close to each other. Then we're going to call them social animals? And then the entire thing was like, oh. So because the entire definition has been on mammals, now we are thinking about birds.
No, I don't know who spoke to you, but
Yes, sir.
sociability is very well defined now, very precisely defined in terms of grades. One is group living, other is sharing, responsibility, communications, then division of labors, many things.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's not
So
just
this is, no. So what
there
I'm
are
trying to say-
levels, use parasocial, use two-use sociality.
So that was definitely when people are observing animals in the wild. That's how that's the initial observation they're doing like that. But when you, like you're saying, when you're dividing the term sociability, then obviously these things come, which is again why I'm making an argument for fishes to have a social life and being social, which is such a huge issue. Anytime I bring up sociability in fish, they're like, no, but we know mammals being, sociable. But in birds also, we're seeing those, social characteristics. All this is changing. This is coming in the next 5-10 years. This is going to change.
In terms of the fish,
Yes, sir.
you get shoals of fish, and some are not sort of moving around together. So there has been a lot of discussion about that, because they follow a pattern of movement, a shoal of fish, but there are also individuals, like the salmon and others, as they move up, they don't move up together. Even the hilsa, for us, it migrates a large distance, but they normally move individually. So even amongst the fishes, you have a different kind of sociability that occurs.
বিশাল এই sociability কথা নিয়ে এখনো আমরা term is particularly with shark research, sir, because there are individual sharks we see some species who live together. We know like sand tiger sharks they live together. White sharks we don't see that. কিন্তু যখন we are documenting them rearing their children, we are saying that no, sharks are fish, they cannot rear their child. So এখানেই Steve, আমার গুরু, he always said be a skeptic, not a cynic. যতক্ষণ তোমাকে এভিডেন্স দেওয়া হচ্ছে, ডোন্ট বিলিভ দ্যাট, কিন্তু তোমাকে এভিডেন্স দেওয়া হচ্ছে, ইউ স্টিল ওয়ন্ট বিলিভ দ্যাট, দেন ইউ আর বিং এ সিনিক।
No, but if you take the case of a tiger and the deers, deers would be moving together so that they can protect their younger ones much better as compared to tiger.
Sure.
Tigers would let their cubs go away and be independent because there is a relationship between the
We say it is from individuality to social. This is a continuum. Some are more towards individuality, some are more towards a thing.
Also, what I was trying to understand, what kind of threat forces a particular species
To become
to
social.
to come together as compared to, as you go up the chain, polar bears don't need sociability because they are at the top of the pyramid.
This is
Similarly,
what Raghavendra did with the wasp. Entire life he devoted to get an answer to the question that why wasps, instead of going alone, bringing families, stay into group and work as a worker without reproducing. If it could leave the colony and bring up its own evolutionary, it would have gained a lot. But yet, so it is not simple Darwinism straightforward. So there are others. So ultimately his model is novel. That's why he became so famous. Previous models were mostly in terms of genetic sharing, relatedness and other things. He brought out uncertainty, probability of failure under the situation where the failure of founding one own nest is high. For example, predators are more, there are rains more, other environmental conditions are group living would help it. So they stay back and enjoy the relative success.
So what is the theory's name, sir? What do we call it? মানে এই থিওরিটা স্যার মানে নামটা কি, মানে আপনি যেটা বলছেন?
You write Raghavendra Gadakar. This is Gadakar's. He has a fantastic popular book written, Survival Strategies.
or a PDF copy of that
Uh,
from India.
Survival Strategies.
University Press. That's fun reading. And that will give.
থ্যাংক ইউ স্যার।
So it's a social thing. We ask question why individual will become social from social life. Why a tiger? When under which situation tigers would evolve as social? It's not a question of one day or thing. After many thousands of generation, it might. So the question would be, what is the advantage and disadvantage of group living? Raghavendra Gadakar. So here, for example, individual group living in terms of infectious diseases disadvantageous. In terms of very big predator on at a go, it will get like that. And other way it is the naked mole rat, have you heard?
Yeah.
Naked mole rat is the best example. Ashok, I have been writing in Bengali all these things. But as with my character goes the fun, typical rocker মিশিয়ে দিয়ে আমি লিখি। রোববার ম্যাগাজিন প্রতিদিনের মাসে 2টো করে লিখি, চেষ্টা করি একটা লেখার, কিন্তু মাঝে মাঝে চেপে দাঁড়ে। I will, there, for example, I have written about it, the questions you are talking about, group living.
Yeah.
That shows the, or rather, I can historicize this statement by going back to your earlier statement that I write for common, Sadharana. Because you have in your mind so-called binary. I don't know, I'm just
No, I don't have
suspicious between the two lines.
It's a continuum.
Why do you say that, এই পাবলিকেশন করি না, এসব না করলে নতুবা আমি সাধারণ লোকের জন্য, তার মানে তো আপনি একটা এলিটিজম দিচ্ছেন সেই লোকগুলোকে, যেটাতে আমার মনে হয়েছিল পিএইচডি করলে কি স্পেশালাইজ হওয়া যায়, মোটেই না। তা তো অনেক লোক
আমায় আপনি বলে দিন কি বললে কি
দুটো কিন্তু আলাদা ব্যাপার আছে। ইনফ্যাক্ট যেহেতু শিলাঞ্জনের সাথে আমার ইন্টারাকশনটা বেশ কিছু বছর আগে 2008 থেকে একটু ডিপলি হয়েছিল। আই থিঙ্ক দেয়ার আর টু অ্যাসপেক্টস টু ইট। রাইটিং ফর কমন ম্যান যেটা শিলাঞ্জন ক্লেম করতে বলছে, ইটস সার্টেনলি নেসেসারি, কিন্তু আবার ইটস অলসো নেসেসারি যেখানে পিএইচডি ডিসিপ্লিনে ইউ গো ডিপ ইনটু অ্যান এরিয়া and figure out some of the problems, how do they operate. এর মধ্যে যখন social context আসবে তখন one has to make a choice.
No, that is of course
মানে সেই জন্য আমি কিন্তু বলবো যে both are necessary. সত্যেন বোস বাংলায় বিজ্ঞান চর্চা করতেন বলে 1924 এর পেপারটা লিখেননি তা না। Both are essential aspect of the
আমার একটা
scientific
ভালো প্যারালাল দিয়েছেন, হ্যাঁ?
আমার একটা
তাই কাজ ব্রিজিং এন্ড প্যাটার্ন।
আমি এত পাগল শুনুন, আমি সোজা বাংলা কথা, আমি টিচিং ভালোবাসতাম, এখানে টিচিং এর বদলে
তোমাকে যে
বলা যায়
একদমই
না।
চিনি না তা তো নয়।
এখানে রিসার্চ করতে গেলে যেটা
একদম না না
need a peer group.
না না
lacking, no one knows the evolution.
সত্যেন বোস নিশ্চয়ই সত্যেন বোসের জায়গায় থাকবেন, আর শিলাঞ্জন ভট্টাচার্য ভট্টাচার্যের জায়গায় থাকবে, কিন্তু তার মানে এ নয় যে শিলাঞ্জন ভট্টাচার্যের কাজটাকে আমরা কম গুরুত্ব দিয়ে বিচার করব। আসলে আলোচনাটা হচ্ছে,
এটা তো আমি স্বীকার করছি, আমি
আলোচনাটা হচ্ছে কিন্তু না, আলোচনাটা হচ্ছে যখন এই ধরনের ইয়েতে, মানে আমি কেন বলছি যে সায়েন্টিফিক আমেরিকানে অনেকদিন ধরে যে আলোচনাগুলো হয় সেখানে কিন্তু এই রকম ধরনের আলোচনাগুলোকে এগিয়ে আনা হয়। যে একটা বিশেষ ব্যাপারে তুমি আলোচনা করতে গিয়ে তুমি যাদের বলছো তারা কিন্তু তাদের জায়গাতে হয়তো প্রতিষ্ঠিত হয়েছে, কিন্তু তারা অবভিয়াসলি এই জায়গাটা জানে না। সেই জন্য
অশোকদা কেন মুখ খোলাচ্ছেন? আমি বলবার চেষ্টা করে যা অভিজ্ঞতা হয়েছে, কেন মুখ খোলাচ্ছেন? আপনি জানেন শিলাঞ্জনের
না 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 তুমি যেটা বলতে পারো তার জন্যই তো তোমার সাথে আমি 2008-এ যোগাযোগ করেছি।
বাংলা কথা আমি সিনিক হয়ে গেছি, আমি হয়ে যাচ্ছি, আমার হবি হবে আমি লিখবো, কারণ আমি দেখেছি আমার আশপাশে research can be done without machine, without chemicals, without everything, but not without peer group, because pursuit of knowledge is a social activity.
Absolutely.
স্যার এই যে আমার স্টুডেন্টরা হাসছে কারণ এইগুলো নিয়ে কত যে ডিসকাশন হয়েছে।
How do you get a peer group?
You try to create, but it is like moving against the ocean.
আমি একটু হিস্টোরিসিটিতে যাচ্ছি, আর ও যখন জয়েন করেছিল
You're moving against the ocean.
কম হতে পারে, উইক হতে পারে,
এটা ওদের জানা দরকার। ও যখন জয়েন করেছিল, যে জায়গাটাতে গিয়েছিল পড়েছিল, সেই জায়গাটা ছিল একটা অ্যাবান্ডেন্ট ব্রিক ফিল্ড।
That was a pleasure for me.
সেই অ্যাবান্ডেন্ট ব্রিক ফিল্ডে আমরা চেষ্টা করেছিলাম টু কাম আপ উইথ নিউ আইডিয়াস, নিউ ওয়েজ অফ লুকিং অ্যাট থিংস, এবং আমাদের ইলেকট্রিক পাওয়ার ছিল 30 কিলোওয়াট আওয়ার, যেটা কনস্ট্রাকশনের জন্য দেওয়া হয়েছিল, আর কিছু ছিল।
স্যার আমি একটা কথা বলবো স্যার, একটা কথা বলি স্যার, I would take that any day, rather রোজ কার শ্বশুরের পায়ে ব্যথা, কার বিড়ালের এই হয়েছে, কে টিফিনে কি এনেছে, সারাদিন এই ডিসকাশনে। না না আমি বলছি
you don't have to do that,
মানে এই ডিসকাশন দিনরাত যদি এই চলে, I would much rather be in an abandoned way sir.
তোমার বয়সে হলে আমি আমার পার্টি নয়, আমি ইউনিভার্সিটি
আমি এটা পরে ছাড়বো না। এরকম তো চলার কথা নয় বাবা, যে তুমি শ্বশুর আর বিড়াল করে যাবে। প্রত্যেকেই এসেছো এখানে, এটা বললে হবে না। আমি যখন কলকাতা বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ে জয়েন করেছিলাম তখন আমি কারুর বিড়াল ছিলাম, কারুর শ্বশুর ছিলাম, এবং লাস্ট 28 ইয়ার্স সেটা আমাকে গিলতে হয়েছে। মাঝখানে অশোকদা একটু স্মুথেন করেছিলেন, তারপরে অশোকদা চলে গেলেন। তার
Then what are we supposed to do? I'm বলুন তো একদম honestly as seniors I'm asking you. Oh, এটা কি?
নো সিরিয়াস, আমি একমাত্র বলুন, আমি আছি।
না, তুমি
আমার কিছু এসে যায় না, আমার বলতেই পারি।
Oh, we are still on. Forget it. We'll do this.
না, that's because I will tell you,
অনলাইনে লোক
well, in
আছে।
reference to me, you should not take it that way, this cynicism, because I am at 64 and I started that career when I tried, by that time already I was near 50. So,
I understand.
how
what
long
you're
you can go thing? So I wanted to find out evidence to.
আমি যখন
Release.
আরেকটু তোমার অর্ধেক বয়সী ছিলাম, তখন I met in the subject area of molecular biology a Japanese who had already reached 56, and he came and gave a brilliant lecture in transcription, control of transcription at international. He started late because he was fighting in the Second World War and had lost his youth. প্রশ্নটা হচ্ছে যে are we getting driven by a quest to figure out what is happening around me? তুমি যেটা বললে, you are absolutely right. You don't always need huge amount of money, and that is exactly why I was referring to briefing. When we started there,
আমার কমপ্লেইন ছিল না, একশোটার I was very happy.
এটাই তো বলছি।
ওই সময়,
এটাই তো বলছি।
but all that we were trying to do was to think, যে within the limitations, what are the human avenues that we can explore? তাই
প্রত্যেকের তার নিজস্ব
ওই জায়গাটাতে
লাভ হেট রিলেশনশিপ, লেট মি পুট ইট দ্যাট ওয়ে।
না, এইটা আমি now I am very happy because I don't expect anything from the system. I have find my avenue to express whatever I can through writing. I do write in English, but
রবীন্দ্রনাথের
book or
লিখতে হবে।
anything.
বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ে কি আপনার শৃঙ্খল? বিশ্ববিদ্যালয়ে ধরো রবীন্দ্রনাথ স্কুল ছেড়ে দিয়েছিল লোকটা, হ্যাঁ, ক্লাস 7
আপনি
6 না 7
দুজনেই যিনি একই জিনিস ইনি বলছেন সত্যেন্দ্র, ইনি বলছেন রবীন্দ্রনাথ, যাবো কোথায়?
কি বলবো তাহলে?
না ভাই, আমি যতটুকু জানি তাই বলতে পারি। I cannot tell you anything.
আরে মানে কি তো ডিফার করে না, আমি কি ওই লেভেলে?
আপনি রবীন্দ্রনাথ নন, আমিও নই, কিন্তু আইডিয়ালটা তাই যে আমরা প্রডিউস করবো নাক ফাঁদি
অসত্তা জানে আমি কি লড়েছি,
সে তো অসত্তা আমারটাও জানে, আর এখন কি লড়ে যাচ্ছি তাও জানে।
রড দিয়েও অসত্তাকে বাঁচাতে লড়তে হয়েছে।
আমি এসব ব্যাপারে এখানে এখনো অনলাইনে লোকেরা রয়েছে এসব।
Those were other stories.
We end with a happy note that we have learned something from the crow and from the
Shark.
white sharks. What a specificity, white sharks, okay. ময়ূরী, আমরা দাঁড়িয়ে পড়ি, একটা অন্তত যে কজন আছে, একটা খুব কম জন আছে দেখছি, তখন বিশেষ অনেক বলতেছি। আমি এই দিয়ে মন দিয়ে শুনছিলাম, কিন্তু আমাকে একটু ফাঁকা হয়ে গেল।
তাদের জয়। মানে প্রত্যেকের নিজের ব্যস্ততা অনুযায়ী থাকবে।
ব্যস্ততা বুঝলেন?
আচ্ছা, আমাদের ল্যাঙ্গুয়েজটাকে আমরা তো ওই রকম মডিউলেট করে রাখতেই পারি।
Language is so much
না,
important.
আমার একটা বলতে আছে, যারা স্পেশালি তারা কি ওই কমন লেখাটা করলে কিছু বুঝতে পারবে না?
না, আমার
তাহলে অসুবিধাটা কোথায়?
আমি তো উল্টো কথা বলবো। আমি বলবো স্পেশালি লেখা যাতে সবাই বুঝতে পারে, বা স্পেশাল কি লেখা ভালো করে বুঝতে পারা, ইচ্ছে না করে পড়িস না। আবার কি
আমার বসের কাছে এই কথা তুললে না, মাধব গাডকে সারা জীবন কমপ্লেইন করে গেল যে আমি ভালো ভালো পেপার ছাপাই।